Today, we're heading to the east coast of the South Island for one of the best known private tramps in the country. Let's talk about the Kaikōura Coast Track. Kia ora and welcome to The Tramping Life, a podcast about hiking in Aotearoa, New Zealand, or as we call it here, tramping. I'm Chauncey, and in this episode I'll talk about a specific track or hut. I'll give an overview and share my experience, along with the highlights and some practical advice. The Kaikōura Coast Track is a 26-kilometre, 2-day private hiking track that has been run successfully by a pair of farming families for over 30 years. It starts 45 minutes drive south of Kaikoura at the beach house at Ngaroma on Conway Flat Road, where walkers spend the night before starting the hike. Day one heads along epic coastline before heading up through farmland and bush to stay at the Whare, where your bags are transferred to. Day two, walkers head up to the 486-metre summit of Skull Peak before returning to the beach house. Both accommodations have one double room, the rest of the rooms are twins, along with 2 showers and toilets, a living area and kitchen. I walked the Kaikōura Coast Track in April 2025. It started with a half an hour of quiet road walking to Plowman's Creek, where I joined an epic beach. Behind this were heavily eroded cliffs and interesting formations. Apparently much of this erosion was caused by the 2016 Kaikoura earthquake. The beach was harder walking than expected, with it being hard to find reasonably solid sections, so I ended up zigzagging along trying to find the best line to take. There were rather a lot of creeks to cross, tricky when the banks easily turned to wet sand. It was a relief to reach Medina Beach, home to a small lagoon, where the beach walking ends and the track heads inland. Close by is Circle Shelter, a cute spot for some food about halfway through the day's hiking. The microwaves, non-operational, in the shelter were a novel feature. The track, denoted by white markers or paint, headed uphill to clifftop fields with great views in all directions. It then descended through Medina Gully, thick bush with lots of stream crossings, along with some huge native trees that escaped fires and felling due to the steepness of the gully. It was quite a contrast climbing out of the gully to bright sunshine again to the appropriately named rest and relaxation bench. From here it was mostly downhill through farmland, with a final hilly section past a reflected pool of water. Whare was an even better spot than the beach cottage, with a separate sleep out and character-filled main building. At 8:30 the next morning, we were picked up and driven 25 minutes to Bunting's Gully on the other side of the hills. From here, it was a relentless 500-metre climb, mostly in the bush, although it did open up at times for great views of the landscape inland. Bruce's seat offered a welcome rest, and reaching the ridgeline, there were spectacular views towards the coast and the Kaikoura Peninsula to the north. The wind was really picking up, so I didn't spend long at the summit of Skull Peak, the highest point in the walk, but the expansive views continued heading down from the peak as the weather worsened. It was a relief to reach shelter back at the beach house, to come full circle after a varied and enjoyable couple of days. Highlights include the diversity of scenery, from impressive cliffs to regenerating bush gullies and open farmland. The hike includes sections along the beach and quieter inland stretches with native vegetation. Because there's a limit of a maximum of a dozen walkers a day, the atmosphere is uncrowded and peaceful along the track and in the accommodation. And the accommodation is also a highlight, with warm, clean cottages with hot showers and kitchen facilities each night and your luggage carried between them. Finally, some practical advice. Bookings are essential for the Kaikōura Coast Track. It's open from early October to late April. And there's about 13 kilometres of walking each day, with terrain that includes coastal paths, farmland walking and gullies with native bush. The track requires reasonable fitness and experience, but you're only walking with a day pack and there's no technical sections. Thank you so much for listening to The Tramping Life. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please follow the podcast in whatever app you use. Tell a friend about it and consider leaving a rating or a review. It really helps more people discover the show. If you have any questions or feedback, I'd love to hear from you. Drop me an email at thetrampinglife, one word, @gmail.com.